Hi, it's Jennifer DeCastro. We are going to have a lively discussion today about complementarian and egalitarian views on women in ministry. I was personally called to ministry when I was 12 years old. I was called to be a missionary. I woke up in the middle of the night, went out, told my parents, I'm going to be in ministry. My dad said, Bobby, I think Jennifer's serious. And I was. I went to Mexico shortly thereafter, followed by trips all over the world. As a woman in ministry, it was often acceptable for me because I was a missionary. I would end up in certain situations, though, where they would say, you could speak in this church, but not on stage. You can speak, but you need a skirt to cover your ankles. You can train, but not pastoral training. You can lead a Bible study with women, but you can't lead them if there's men in the room. You can teach the junior high, but you can't teach in the high school. And then I would go to a different church and they would say, you could teach anything. Why not? We're all created equal. Sure, you could teach on a Sunday morning. Sure, you could do pastoral training. Sure, you could talk to the youth of all ages. So there was this real inconsistency as I went through life in ministry. My thing was respect. I respected the leadership of whatever culture that church was. I had traveled enough that I wouldn't dream of going to Africa and telling them they couldn't eat matoke. I wouldn't dream of going to the Philippines and telling them whatever they're doing is wrong. It's about culture. So every church has a culture and has different behaviors that are the norm for them. So imagine my surprise when a few years ago, I've kind of skated through these issues when I started getting books in the mail. And I'm talking a lot of books. It started with this one, How I Changed My Mind About Women in Leadership. And then it went to this one, 10 Lies the Church Tells Women. And then it went to The Blue Parakeet, which is more on how do you interpret the Bible. And then I got Men and Women, Equal Yet Different. Followed quickly by, this was one of my favorites actually, Just Lead, No Whining, No Complaining, No Nonsense. Practical Guide for Women Leaders in the Church. I like the no whining part. I really, really do. And then there was a book called Half the Church, which I've let someone borrow right now. And then Women Be Free and Beyond Sex Roles. So all of these books are opinions, every single one of them, on women in ministry. And you know what? Every one of them has scriptures. Every single one of them have scriptures. Let me say that again. Scriptures. So the complementarian view believes in 1 Timothy when it says women be silent in the church. They believe in Genesis when it says that woman was born into sin and is cursed to be submissive to man from then on. And then you have the complementarian view that says there's no Jew or Gentile, no male or female, that you can do anything God's called you to be regardless of your gender. They say the Bible talks about slavery, but we don't enact slaves anymore. So why would we put these parameters on women as well? In our United States, our culture is very dominant right now on, maybe dominant's not the right word, but a hot topic is women and advancing women and equality for women. So you bring all this together and your history of how you were raised, where you're reading the Bible at, what kind of church you're going to, what part of the country you live in, brings about these discussions, and they have very, very strong views. So a complementarian view would say a woman shouldn't be a pastor, they shouldn't speak on a Sunday morning, they need to submit to men, men make the ultimate decisions on everything. You have extremes in the complementarian view. You have extremes that say women really are in these clear-cut boundaries. But then you have them where they're a little bit more lax, where they just say they just shouldn't be senior pastors or elders, but they'll let them be associate pastors or deaconesses. And then you have the egalitarian view. And on their views, women could do anything. They can be a senior pastor, they could be an elder. The sky's the limit. And if you don't let them do everything, then you're definitely in the wrong. You're sexist. So I've gotten through life because I don't want to be a senior pastor and I don't want to be an elder. I just want to do missions. I've gotten through life without having somebody really come against me from the complementarian view. I mean, until last year. And last year I had a conversation that they said I was definitely out of order because I speak on Sunday mornings in various churches. My perception is that you need to love one another. In Corinthians, it says, if you have not love, you have not anything. You're just a clanging gong. You're a clanging cymbal. However you want to put it, you're loud and obnoxious. If you can't love someone who has different beliefs than you, then you're not walking in love. Period. End of story. I'm okay when people say that's not our church culture. But I'm not okay if they say it can't be anybody's church culture. If Grace comes to me and says, I want to be a pastor someday, I would say, okay, I will help you do that. Here is the churches you could be a pastor in, and here's the churches that you can't. I wouldn't say these are bad churches. They're probably doing some really great things. And I wouldn't say the ones that have female pastors are all great either. But I am saying there are options out there and that there are conversations that can take place in a respectful and loving way. So complementarian says women shouldn't preach, women shouldn't be senior pastors, women shouldn't be elders. And some of them go extreme even more on limitations. Egalitarian says they could be senior pastors, they can do anything they want. So I hope that gives you a basic idea of the two different beliefs, and I hope it encourages you to pull out some books, pull out your Bible, and look online. One thing I really like when I am wrestling with something is to see what other people believe and to come to an understanding of why they believe what they believe. I put effort into that because I have a hard time showing love if I can't understand. That's just me. But I would encourage you to do some research, see what other people believe, see what you believe, and actually have scriptures for that. But most of all, can you please, I beg you, walk in love, whether they agree with you or not. Just be loving and be kind.